Well, hello everyone. Today we are so honored to have Miss Amy McConnell Abston with us. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Dawn, my friend.
Yes,
Thanks for
hi.
having me.
Thank you. I think one thing about this quarantine process has been how people have been able to connect online, virtually, have little, ways to get together and talk. And I feel like everyone has been so creative in how they're handling this.
I agree. I normally have a book group every quarter for a bunch of my writer friends, and they usually come to my home. And on Saturday of this weekend, we did a Zoom call where we all just showed up virtually in our pajamas and just talked about the book of the choice for this time. And it was really cool. It was good to get together, but I missed the carbs because normally we have cookies and scones and things like that. So yeah, so I just had to make up for that after the call with my own imbibing of carbs.
Well, for Easter, we, made a meal here, and yes, it was very carb heavy, and we were so sleepy afterwards, and then, had leftovers and everything. So I'm like, this is actually a good idea to get your children to maybe take a nap, is to give them lots of carbs. So I'm on to a new
Right.
parenting technique.
That's good. I like it. I like it.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family
I'd love
and
to.
your journey so far.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Let's see. Well, I, like you, am a Nashville girl. I've lived here since I came to go to college here in 1989. So I've been here a bit. And now we live in Franklin, my husband and I, and we have a combined family of seven. So seven between us. Five of those are my biological children. Two are my bonus sons. And we have three boys who are grown and out of the house. And so at home we have four girls. So it's kind of like a modern day Little Women at our house. And so that's great. And I
Lots
have
of
been
emotions.
in you know what? I am an extrovert. So I love it because it's kind of a party all the time with my girls here. So, and my husband loves it too, of course, because they just, they adore him and it's a lot of fun for all of us. Let's see. So that's my family life. We live here in Franklin, which we love. And let's see. And I'm in the book business. I've been in the book business since 1994. And so I'm an editor and a writer, and I call myself a book midwife because I help books kind of come into the world.
Well, you've certainly had worn many hats in the publishing world. You're a writer, you've helped other books come along. What has been your
Mhm.
favorite part?
That is such a hard question. It's like saying, which part of being a mom do you love the best? There's just so many things I love about it. I've just always loved books, Dawn. I mean, like you, books are, they make me happy and they make me feel alive. And I've always just found a lot of comfort and inspiration in books. I think my favorite part of being in the book publishing business, if I had to say, would be just coming alongside somebody who has a passion, who just is really pregnant with an idea and can't wait to birth it into the world and share it with people. I love that energy that comes from that exchange. Because I've been a part of this process for so long, I have a calm comes over me in those moments that is uncommon. I think usually people are kind of a little bit freaked out by that. And I get this sort of uber calm and focus. And I love to sort of be helpful in those moments and help sort of bring out the best in the project, whatever that calls for. Sometimes it calls for hard questions on my part. I've had to definitely have hard conversations with authors, but most of the time it's just encouraging and coaching and helping along. I did get to be a part of building a fiction division at HarperCollins, which meant I wasn't just bringing in authors to create books. I was also helping coach people, editors and marketers and all the different people who were coming into that process. And I loved being on a team. That was really, really fun. But I probably have really found my stride working individually with celebrities or people who need somebody who can be there in the trenches with them for the long haul to create a book. That's really been really fun.
I think that is such a gift that you have because so many people have a story to tell, but maybe unsure of how to put their story into words or what's the best way to do that. I feel like to me, thinking about writing a book would be very overwhelming and so many steps and process. So you're a great person to be able to come alongside and help some of those. Can you share with us some of the people that you've had the pleasure of working with? I know one just came out this week, which we would love to hear about.
Oh yeah, well I'd love to tell. Oh yeah, so I'm really excited about that new book. It's called Me and Patsy Kicking Up Dust, and it's with Loretta Lynn and her daughter Patsy, Patsy Russell, and Patsy Lynn Russell, and that has been so amazing. Coming alongside them in that book process. It's about Loretta's coming into the business as a young woman, when women were just called the girl singers in country music. They were really sort of relegated to second class citizen. And she, as you know, from her sort of world famous attitude, is a feisty, and she is a can-do, really hard worker, so creative and so visionary. But she met Patsy Cline early in their musical careers, early in her musical career, and Patsy had a huge influence on her. They became close as sisters, and their professional mentorship, their friendship, bled over into all of their facets of their lives, and that has been very inspirational to me. I've learned so much about not only this place that I call home, Nashville, and our rich history here, but so much about the importance of female relationships, and not only professionally, but personally, and how much of an impact we can have on each other's lives. That's been amazing. I could go on about that for days. I really could. So that's been amazing. And it just came out last week. It's doing really well already. I can't wait for more people to get a hold of it and hear that story and be inspired by it.
I cannot wait to grab my copy of that too. And I think, again, another positive about the situation that we're in being at home is we're able to find a little bit more time to read and get through some of our books that we've been wanting to read. What an amazing honor to work with one of country music biggest legends, Loretta Lynn.
Yes,
can't wait to read and learn more about this endeavor that you've been on. Well,
I can't wait to share it with you.
Yes. Speaking of women relationships, strong relationships, you have authored your own book. A lot of times you come along and help others write their books, but you have this little beauty, Faithful Daughter, that has come out.
Yes, hello, little baby.
Is a beautiful little baby. I just adore the cover of this, and
thank you.
Really enjoyed your book launch, one of your book launch parties over at Parnassus, and you had a cake that was made just like the cover, which was so beautiful. So fun.
Puppy Muffin did that. I would highly recommend them. They are so good. I've seen a lot of beautiful cakes. This one took the cake, and not only was it gorgeous, wasn't it so delicious? I could have eaten that cake for days.
I know. It was gorgeous. Well, tell us a little bit about the story. As Mother's Day is coming up, and this will be such a great book. Tell us about, how did you get started with this, or what inspired you?
Well, I tell you what, it really was a surprise to me. Much like a surprise, this just occurred to me, like a surprise baby. I've always said over the years, I am not pregnant with my own book idea. I just like to come alongside and help other people have their book babies born into the world. I'm the midwife, not the mother. And this one came as quite a surprise, because here's what happened, Dawn. I was having lunch with one of my book publishing friends, and we were talking, like we often do, about the book publishing industry and our authors and the different projects we were excited about, the things that were giving us trouble. At the time, I remember there was something of a paper shortage, and we were worried about that, and we were talking about that. And somewhere along the line, my friend Pamela mentioned that her mother had recently passed, and she said she just got so her eyes just kind of glazed, like just filled up with tears. And she said, Amy, just don't take a minute of your mother being here for granted. And of course, that really touched me. And it was a moment when our conversation turned from being professional to being very personal. I felt like her sister in that moment. Her friend. And what really struck me, Dawn, is that at that moment, I was actually the same age as my mother was when she came to Nashville to tell me that she had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Now, Dawn, just spoiler alert, like she survived. She went through
Such
some
a
experimental
so
treatment.
amazing, and so glad to hear that good news.
She's amazing. She's just my hero, but she did, and she defied the odds for sure. That said, I looked at my friend Pamela and thought, oh my gosh, I am the same age as my mother was when she thought she was going to die. And my son is the same age as I was at that moment. And it just was a moment of just like, who am I in this world? And how important is this relationship to me? And my daughterhood is so important to me. And I just began to think about her in a new way and began to think about myself in a different way. Principally just starting to think of myself as daughter, whereas I'd been thinking of myself as mother for a lot of years at that point. Already for 25 years, I'd been a mom. 24 years, I'd been a mom. And just started me thinking on that road. And I began to do what I do when I'm processing thoughts, is I read about it and I ask my writer friends what they think, because they are such great thinkers. And so that was really interesting. I started talking to some of my most thoughtful friends about this subject, and everybody had such a different story to tell. I will say quickly captured my own thoughts about my mother and started kind of editing through those and thinking through those a little bit more clearly. And I came up with an essay that I wrote that's in the book called She Taught Me to Pray. And it's really sort of explores our dynamic. And learning through these stories that I heard from other women writers just sort of helped me explore the concept of daughterhood and how intrinsic it is to me as a person. It's been an amazing process, honestly. It's been very eye-opening.
I think for you to be in that situation of realizing this is the age that my mom went through such, a life-changing time in her life, being diagnosed in that process. My mom was diagnosed 2 years ago, so we've been on a little bit on the journey as well. She's
Oh my.
okay, but it makes you kind of step back and reevaluate your life, your mom, your relationship, and everything is more highlighted, I guess, because you're kind of like thrown in the midst of this heavy diagnosis and not knowing how things are going to go. And it makes you appreciate every single day, every conversation, every memories that you have. So I'm so glad that you were able to really process your relationship, process a lot of your thoughts as a mom, as a daughter, and just really highlight that relationship between the two of you.
Well, you know what, Dawn, I think you embody this as well. So I think you'll feel this acutely. I think as women, we have so many roles that we play, and they're important roles. That sort of famous phrase, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So as a mother, what we do is very important, and we take it very seriously, and sometimes put too much pressure on ourselves. We're not just mothers, we're wives often, or lovers, or friends, or we have all these different roles that we play. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We forget often, I think, that we were first daughters, and we are always daughters. And that's a relationship that doesn't go away. Even when our mothers pass, it doesn't go away. We're still intrinsically somebody special. And sometimes those relationships are very difficult. They've been very difficult, or they've been very pressurized, or for some of us, it's been worse than difficult. It's been surviving a trauma. There are a few of those stories in the book, really. But what has been so resonant with me throughout this process is that there's hope for all of us in even those most dire situations, because we are ultimately sort of someone else's daughter. We have a divine Father who's also our mother in a way. Like God is just, we are His daughter, and we are cared for, and there's hope regardless of the situations that we have had in our past. I of course thought a lot about my own daughters. I have 4. So I thought a lot, I continue to think a
A
lot
lot of
about
good experience.
well, and it's not always good. Like it's not, I mean, I fail all the time. I fall down all the
All
time. I
day,
let them
right?
down all day long, every day. But I look back at my own relationship with my mother, on where we had rough patches or whatever, where we didn't connect, or I look at the relationships in the book where there've been tumultuous situations that have been overcome. And I just see the resilience of the human spirit and how daughters are overcomers regardless. You know, we're always reacting to whatever went before. And everybody in this book is my hero. Like all of these women are so cool. And I want my daughters to know them and to see how creative they are and how talented and how strong and brave and just beautiful all these women are. And I just think that's a really cool gift to give any daughter, regardless of her age.
Absolutely. And 2 of my favorite ladies are also in the book, Marsha
Yeah.
and Iris Hudson. They are superstars, and
Oh gosh, I love them so much.
I've had Karis on the podcast, and she shared some of her story of how her mother impacted her, and now she's been a missionary in Haiti, I believe, for 17 or 18 years. And so
Yes.
just to hear those stories of, whether her mom wasn't doing these things so that her daughter would be a missionary, but just
Right.
the daily things that we do. And I think as moms, that's something we have to remember. Every dish that we wash, every meal that we prepare is making an impact. Sometimes it feels monotonous, or, if I have to do another load of laundry, I just can't make it through. But every single day, the things that we are doing are impacting, sometimes
Right.
not in a good way, sometimes in a good way. But
Right.
anyway,
I love that. That's so right on, Dawn. I so agree with you. Yes.
How did you select the contributors for this book?
That's a great question. Well, the short answer is really just these are people that I love. These are my friends.
A good place to start.
Yeah. So I kind of just thought, like, who would I want to come to my home for my daughters to meet? Who would be the gift that I would give to my friends? Who would I like to introduce to each other? And I kind of just reached out to them mostly by phone and just said, I'm thinking about this idea. What's your relationship with your mom like? Let's talk about that. Of course, a lot of them I already knew a little bit about that relationship. For one reason or another. For instance, there's one story in here by Doris Walker, who works with Thistle Farms. I don't know if you're familiar with the Nashville organization. Right. So through Becca Stevens, I had met Doris Walker, and she had told me about her story where she was on the streets in drug addiction and prostitution for over a decade. And her mother just prayed her through that. And obviously it's a lot bigger story than just prayed her through that. But I had heard that story, and I just reached out to Doris and said, would you tell me a little bit more about your mom and what impact she has had on your life? And it just poured out of her, and it was just so beautiful. And we've got to get the story out there. So that's an example of a story that I wanted my daughters to hear, that it's like you said, Dawn, like everything you do has an impact, whether you mean for it to or not, it does. And that's not for it to be pressure on us. It's really for us to be more, I think the end result should be just gratitude in our own hearts, that in fact, the word, we use tribute very deliberately on the cover. These are tributes to mothers, because tribute doesn't mean necessarily that it's like just singing of praises. It's also just a respect. It's an act of gratitude toward people. And that doesn't mean we necessarily praise things that are not praiseworthy. It's just giving gratitude for the things that have formed us. There's one story in here about a survivor from Melissa Durabian. Are you familiar with Melissa Durabian? She's the first Food Network star
Okay.
on the Food Network, and she's written a lot of New York Times bestselling books. But her story is in here about surviving her mother's suicide, and that is not an easy thing, obviously, but it's helped form her character. And she gives gratitude for the things that her mother taught her, in spite of the pain that she ultimately experienced and had to go through. It ultimately made her the woman she is now. And so Melissa gives gratitude for that, which I think is should be our response, or can be our response, regardless of our circumstances, I guess.
It's so important that you did include some of these hard stories in the book, because everyone's relationship is different and everyone has some hurts and pains along the way. And, sometimes, like everything in life, we can kind of stand back and look at other people's relationships or families and think, oh, they have it all together. Their life is perfect. So I think it's so good that we can read about growing through some of these hardships and how the people, responded to the different situations.
There's a lot of pressure already on women, and I think the result of reading this book, I would hope, would be a release of some of that pressure of like, it's okay, like it is so okay, whatever you've been through, wherever you've been, it is okay. And let's look forward with optimism and hope, but also look back in honesty and be willing to share whatever our story is. It's not all rosy, but once we share it, that becomes our communion together. It becomes the way we connect together, and that's what matters.
Absolutely. And I think right now is such an important time to know that too, and to have grace for ourselves and for our families, as there's a lot of togetherness right now.
There's a lot of togetherness.
And I don't know about you, but I'm tired. And, it's like from the second we wake up till the time the kids are in bed, which they seem to be going to bed later and later, it's just a really long day. And now, families are having to take on the role of homeschool and teaching the kids and making sure that, they're not, losing all this content that they've learned throughout the year. But, my background is in education, so I have a little bit of some knowledge as to what they should be doing. But I can only imagine for parents who have no idea, it's very overwhelming right now. And so I think we all just need lots and lots of grace.
Right, for ourselves, for each other and ourselves. Yes. Right, exactly. And giving each other margin to not always get it perfect, to live in community is to always give each other grace, I think. And as we're living in this smaller community with people that we very much love, we have to make sure to practice that and model it.
Break from time to time, but yes, we are glad for the time. And I think there's going to be and I've been trying to like journal and write through this process too, of like, these are the things that we've been, or I think for our whole lives, we're going to remember this time, and some things are going to really stand out. And hopefully it'll be the good times, right?
Well, in addition to your journaling, I have to give you props. I love following you on Instagram.
Oh, you are so sweet.
Edifying. It is so great to see your face and to see you lift up such great organizations. You're so good about putting a light on the windowsill, right? And letting others see it. And that's just been so good for my heart. Whenever I need kind of like a little quick fix, I often go to Nashville Mom.
Wow. Thank you. I feel like Nashville is just such a creative town. There's so much heart here, so much, we're built around music and history, and there's so many amazing people like you who have such gifts and are willing to share it with others. So I'm glad to know you as well. Well, again, we talk about this book is good for all year long, but of course, with Mother's Day coming up, I don't know, when is Mother's Day? May 12th, or I don't know, something like that.
I think we should both know that probably, but I think it is. I think it's the 12th or 15th, something like that.
In the mid-May, we'll say that. The days certainly are running together, but this would make such a great gift for your mother, your grandmother, sisters, your daughters,
anybody who's a daughter.
Yeah, exactly. We also put together some fun gifts that we thought would kind of go with this. So I'll share that image too of some of the goodies that we paired up from a lot of small businesses from Nashville. One, I believe, being Thistle Farms. Their products make such amazing gifts for yourself, for a friend. I don't know, this Mother's Day, if we're all still inside, it's a great way to go ahead and just order something for ourselves because,
Hmm.
we can't get out, so we may as well go ahead and do that. But anyways, some other ways to support some of the small businesses to go along with the book.
I love that. I can't wait to share that list with people.
Well, when you tell us a little bit about Writers Fest, this is another one of your babies.
Ah.
Share with us about that because I was happy enough to be able to attend last year, and I couldn't stay for the entire time, but I was just so inspired by all the, again, creativity in the room. Tell us a little bit about Writers Fest and what that's all about.
Oh, I'd love to. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about that. That was a little happy surprise. So what we've really just been doing it. This will be our third year. So what we do is we gather writers of book, song, and film, which is unlike any other writer conference that's out there. Really, typically writer conferences go very niche. They go very narrow. So, say you write books, but you write a specific kind of book. Maybe I write fiction books, and then I write specifically fiction books for women, and so I go to this conference. And I just felt like over the years, as I would go and speak at those kinds of conferences and book festivals, or I would go with my authors to be their like handler or whatever at book festivals and things like that. I loved going to those things. And I just kind of felt like it was too narrow. And I wished there could be more people in the conversation so that it wasn't more competitive and it was more collaborative. I wanted that. And I also felt like, why aren't we doing this in Nashville? Nashville is the town. We have the most
All the
creative
songwriters
people.
and yes.
Yes. So when I left corporate work, my most recent corporate gig was in 2016. I worked for Simon & Schuster, and my husband said, take a year, just take a beat and see if you would like to work on your own. And that was the first year I ever co-wrote. I wrote a book with Candace Cameron Bure called Kind is the New Classy. And so during that year, I thought, while I kind of have some time and some bandwidth, I'll put together the book festival that I've been dreaming of for years, where I bring together songwriters, book writers, and film screenplay writers. And so we launched it in 2000, where are we? We're in 20, that was 19, it was 2018.
Okay.
We did our first one, and we had so much fun. It was at Lipscomb University, and it was at Lipscomb University again last year, and it will be again this year, November 20th and 21st. And we're hoping we'll be out from underneath quarantine and we can do that again this year. But it's really been cool because what we do is we invite conversations among all the people who create the products. So managers and producers and filmmakers, literary agents, publishers, editors, all those people who are in the book business, as well as people who are at the top of their game. So people like Leon Moriarty have come and spoken, Alice Randall, Tom Douglas, just people who are at the top of their game, New York Times bestsellers, #1 hit songwriters, people who've won Emmys and Academy Award nominations, all of the people who do it well. We bring those people together so that they can be in conversation about how to elevate the craft and how to kind of connect with each other, because none of those things happen in a vacuum. They always happen in collaboration with others. So yeah, we've had a great time. The first year we had a small crowd of, and then the second year we doubled attendance. And so this next year, this year we're hoping to make it even a bigger shindig. We'll have to see.
Well, I certainly enjoyed it, and Alice Randall was one that
she's so amazing.
She was amazing, and I just was captured by everything that she was saying and just her journey and her stories. The thing that stands out a lot about what she said was, how she was told no in the beginning, and then the person who told her no kind of came back around to that and had to be like, oh, well, lesson learned here, because now she's written so many songs and everything else too. But
she's done all the things. She is totally my hero. She's had 17 screenplays sold. She was the first African American woman to have a #1 country hit song
with Reba. Was this correct?
Was it with Reba? Oh, yes, I think it was with Reba.
Well, I
And
have
then
a terrible memory,
the
so.
third one was, and then she's had, her books have been New York Times bestsellers, and she won an NAACP Image Award for one of her cookbooks. So not only can she do fiction, cook, she's a great cook, and she writes songs and screenplays. She does all the things. So that really blew my mind and helped me kind of dream even bigger. And last year we had Cal Cade too. Did you get to meet Cal Cade?
I don't think so.
Her story is phenomenal. She self-published through the Amazon platform, and her books sold so well they ended up hitting the New York Times bestsellers, and she got picked up by a traditional publisher who gave her a multi-million-dollar contract. So she's the super, super rags to riches story, and she's just a phenomenal writer. She just did it because she loved the craft, and she just really wanted people to kind of read her books. And so that story kind of blew my hair back. So those are the kinds of people that we'd like to bring in.
If someone who is watching has a story, they have an idea of something they would want to share, what are just a few tips on getting started that you would recommend?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I would say just do it. Just do it. If the idea has taken hold in your heart, especially during this time when you have some concentrated time to dedicate to trying something new, do it. A lot of people will talk about it and think about maybe how to hire it or how to get someone else to do it. But if you feel passionate about it, do as much as you can on yourself. You can learn. There's so many ways you can learn online and through craft books. I have a book by my bed right now.
Coming to the Writers Fest.
Screenwriting, the 21 days. Yes, come to Writers Fest for sure. And just see if that idea takes hold, because often it's just a little spark, and if you don't nurture that spark, it will go out. Someone else will pick it up and run with it. There are lots of stories of that, like Anne Patchett tells a story about how she had a great idea and she didn't nurture it. Ended up that Elizabeth Gilbert took that idea. Somehow they never talked about it. Elizabeth Gilbert got that idea and ran with it and had a huge success with it. So, or it might have been the other way around. At any rate, I just would encourage them just to do it. There are so many ways to learn, and definitely come to Writer Fest this year in November.
Awesome. Well, when you are not busy writing, what are some ways that you and your family enjoy things you like to do around Nashville? You've been here for quite some time now. I'm sure you have seen it grow and change so much over the years.
We have. Oftentimes we'll be riding around and my husband will go, wasn't something else there before? And we just, we our minds are kind of blown. And it's almost always good change, which is really fun. Let's see. So because we have all these girls at home who all play lacrosse, we're outside a lot. So we're in the parks. There are a number of parks that we frequent, Jim Warren Park and Crockett Park and Grassland Park, because we're here in Franklin. What else do we love to do? We love to eat. So we are often downtown in Franklin. We love to go to downtown Franklin and eat at the Frothing Monkey or Gray's or oh gosh, we love 12 South. So we're in 12 South a lot. As you know, we often run into each other at Draper James, don't we?
We typically have on our little Draper James clothing and wear together. For the Writers Fest, you were already there, and I showed up with my little Draper James raincoat, and you had on your cute dress. So it's just a fun Southern and another woman-ran business that we love.
Yes, Reese. We're big fans of Reese Witherspoon. But yeah, for some reason, I just love that store. It makes me so happy. It's so well curated, and they're very friendly towards books too. So I often find myself heading there for book signings. They often will feature books there, and of course, we're at Parnassus a lot. Our family loves to go to Parnassus. When we around the dinner table last night, we went around and said, when you're done with quarantine, what's the first thing that you want to do? And 3 out of 4 girls said we want to go shopping. So
what did you say? Where are you going to head first?
I want to go to Trader Joe's. I just want to go sniff the vegetables and just hang out at Trader Joe's. I've been very careful about that lately, and I just love to go to the grocery and just explore the different, especially the vegetables and fruits, and find out what we can play with in the kitchen. So I can't wait to go to the grocery store without a mask on. That would be great.
I know. Well, speaking of Draper James and book signings, we you had a book signing scheduled with them coming up. So hopefully we can still do that and celebrate you there. If not, then maybe later on this year.
Well, I look forward to it. The people there have been everyone in Nashville is so friendly and so helpful. But I love the people at Draper James. I would love to be able to do an event there if possible. It'd be good.
They'll get that going, and we've been excited about that. Well, before we let you go, can you share all the places people can connect with you online, where they can find your books? Obviously, there's many places, I'm sure, but what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. So I'm Amy McConnell Writes on Instagram, or you can go to my website, which is amymcconnell.com, which is AMI. So it's always that. And then where can we find the book? So I know for sure they have it at Parnassus, and of course they have it at Amazon, or at Dayspring, and it's also in some of the boutiques. So once the stores open back up, that's around here in Nashville. I know the Perfect Setting has it, which is just down the street.
Love the Perfect Setting.
You and I can meet in the middle right there at the Perfect Setting. But for sure Amazon delivers, so you can go there and get it.
And Parnassus is delivering now too, so that's a
great
way to support them too. So
that's right. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been fun to have a little.
Thank you, Dawn.
I'm having tea time with you, and I look forward to hugging you soon. And we'll have to meet up at Draper James, and we can look at the books there and do some shopping. We'll have to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll bring you a copy of Loretta today.
Wow. You are so sweet. You have often dropped off little goodies on my porch, from books to Emergency, which has come in handy right now, keeping our immune systems up. So I appreciate it so much, and glad to have you as a neighbor.
You too, Dawn. You're the best.
Thanks
for being the Nashville mom.
Oh, well, thank you.